All right. Well, welcome everyone. Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start off by saying the Pledge of Allegiance if you choose. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will start. I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda with the suggested motions and resolutions. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda.
Motion made by Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jones. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. And then on our agenda, first up is Dr. Lewis's superintendent's report. Dr. Lewis.
Thank you so much, Chair. I have a lot of featured guests tonight, so I'm so excited to see a pretty full audience. So it's my absolute delight to invite up Mike Mayer, Parks and Rec Director. Mike, you reached out to me about a month ago and said, I'm really excited. I'd like to share with the school board an update on Commons Park. So we're so excited to feature you here tonight. So come on up.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lewis, Mr. Chair, members of the board, staff, students. It's very exciting to be here this evening with all of you to share an update on a very large and what I believe will be a transformative park project for us all in the city of Fridley. So I'll just provide an update on the construction and kind of the vision. We've got some updated renderings that we just got about a week ago from our design team that will help all of you and any of the folks that are maybe watching from home really help to imagine what that park is going to look like in about a year from now. Let's see if this doesn't look like that's working. If
While
Laura,
you
wouldn't
figure that
mind.
out, Mike, I'll let you know that my 3-year-old really hopes that big dirt pile stays because he's been itching to get in it every time we drive by. He says, "Mama, I go there."
Nice. I will. I'll see what I can do about
Pass
that, but
that on to
no
the
promises
mayor,
though.
please.
All right. Well, so I've got about 15 slides or so that kind of lay out the different aspects of the park project, but I think all of you here in the school community know the location of Commons Park is really one of the things that makes it so special. So it's located really right in the middle of our community here in Fridley, right across the street from where we are right now here at the community center, and within walking distance to a number of our schools. So we really envision this park as being kind of a central hub for the Fridley community, a place that brings everyone in Fridley together where all can gather and enjoy the park. So you'll notice in looking at the kind of updated renderings where you see the parking lot and what we kind of refer to as the hub of the park on the bottom left there. Is kind of the community use zone. So what we've done is kind of divided the park into a couple of different use zones. So to the north is athletics. So you can see we've got 2 new baseball fields, a brand new pickleball court complex, the existing sand volleyball, existing football. To the south then is the community use. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. And then we heard from the community that maintaining some open space in the park was very important. So kind of that middle zone of the park is kind of a transitional element that still maintains that open space for play and open activity. So there you see just kind of the bird's eye view of that hub area. There's a new park building that will be kind of the home for a lot of our parks and recreation classes, but it'll be really a multi-use facility. An inclusive playground is a key feature of the park design. I'll get into that in a little bit more. Splash pad, a lot of just open plaza-like spaces. There's some public art as part of the plan. So we really tried to create a park space that would offer value and engagement for everybody in our community. So the recreation building will have, of course, restrooms, drinking water, kind of all those amenities that somebody coming into the park might want to find. We're envisioning this space as having a little bit of seasonality to it, where we expect it will be open on weekends throughout the year and then open daily, kind of from the peak season of, say, mid-May through September as a daily feature. The building will have 3 different activity rooms, kind of a winter warming area, some public gathering spaces, and then a small space for our Parks and Recreation team. Again, just some renderings of the interior space there. It's going to have some vibrancy, some color. We're working with a local artist to do a mural inside the space. Again, it will be a staffed building. There'll be vending. We envision a variety of different classes and programs happening in that space. And one of the things that we're extremely excited about is an inclusive playground. It really will be Fridley's first fully inclusive playground space. And if you're not familiar with kind of that term or concept of an inclusive playground, essentially it's a space designed for all ages and abilities. So a lot of the play features will have easier access for individuals that may have disabilities, for, again, that full spectrum of age groups. You'll notice the surfacing, rather than having mulch or that kind of what we call engineered wood fiber, it's all that sort of rubberized surface, which is easier to get strollers, wheelchairs, easier to walk on. So the entire space is designed to be accessible and enjoyable by all. That's right. So just a few other features. There's plenty of shade. A really exciting brand new product. It's about a 30-foot tall play tower that's just packed full of features. And we just want to recognize we did get some funding for this project through the state of Minnesota. And we've done a ton of community outreach on this. So we got a concept out in front of community members. And they said, no, we want to see more slides. We want to see a few of those zip line things. So we kind of went back to the drawing board and brought back an updated version based on the community input. And some of these will just kind of be updated renderings. So again, you can see this is a good example where if you look kind of to the right of that image, you can see the entry point to a lot of the play features will be ramped, have railings. So again, that accessibility piece is integrated throughout the entire design. Not much to say about that one other than it's going to be really fun, just packed with features, lots of color. So we're so excited to get the community out to enjoy that new space. You can just kind of slowly go through a few of those. There are some different types of experiences integrated into this as well. So, it is designed to be accessible, but also to appeal to, so like there's some things that use like play that revolves around sound and frequency. So different types of play experiences that appeal to different types of individuals, different age groups. And of course, the splash pad is another feature that we know the community is very excited about. This again was developed through community input. We'll have plenty of shade. That was one of the most important things we heard from stakeholders in the community, shade throughout the whole park program. This did get some funding from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. And as far as how the splash pad itself works, there's quite a few of these found in different communities, but essentially it's water play where you're not getting immersed in water, but it's kind of spray, splash. This will be what's called a pass-through system, so it's not using treated chlorinated water like you might have in a pool, but it will use kind of regular city water. But it is designed to be efficient for water use. So there's a couple different zones that are activated either by push button or motion. So it's not like running all the time. So if nobody's there, the water's not going. So you can kind of activate those different zones. Or if there's only 2, 3, 5 people there and they're only using one space, you can activate one zone at a time. And just some images of different components. So there's some quieter areas there where if you don't want to get splashed, you can kind of, play gently in the water, although there are some things where you'll get a giant bucket of water dumped on your head if that's what you want. Some slides, just again, kind of a variety of different experiences and levels of immersion. There will be an accessory restroom building adjacent to that can be used for changing. Just easy access to the restroom. Another space within the overall park project, there's kind of an activity plaza that'll be used for concerts, performances, yard games, those types of things. One piece that we're really excited about is there is a public art piece that's being planned for the space. So Fridley just started a public art commission. So we've got a group working on that art program. We just interviewed artists that submitted proposals for that about a week ago. Our commission just made a recommendation for an artist to bring in for that project. And a new nonprofit organization was founded here in the community to raise funds for public art over the coming years. So we're excited to be able to populate public art throughout the community. And there will be a prominent piece there as part of the park project. The one that's shown there that's not even a concept of our piece. It's just a placeholder. So yet to be imagined. There'll be some ice skating in that space. So what you see here will be a multi-use space, kind of a large figure 8. It'll be covered in the summer for seating, shade, performances, and then in the winter that same space can get flooded, frozen. Just we know with winter not being super consistent these days, we wanted to create a space that was usable for all year round. We're really seeing the Commons Park space as being a perfect spot for community events. So you probably know about our 49er Days Festival. I know a lot of you partner in that. But really this space is being designed for food trucks, concerts, craft fairs, art fairs. So should be a great place again for the community to all get together and enjoy those fairs and festivals. There's some walking loops throughout. It'll be really well lit, so for folks that just want to get out for a stroll, walk their dog, what have you, again those nice loops. There is a great athletic space within the park, but also there are we heard from a lot of folks, hey, my child isn't into athletics and they might just want a place to be still and quiet, so we put in a little hammock grove so you can bring your own hammock, hook it up to some posts. Relax, blow around in the wind. So we really, again, tried to create a space that will be fun and engaging for all. Just touched on athletics, but we'll have a new kind of a marquee baseball field on the north end of the park. So we're grateful for the cooperation and partnership of FYSA to help in that planning process. So there'll be that field, another sort of a practice field and softball field that's closer adjacent to school district property. And again, we've got the new pickleball courts, which we know the community is excited about. So kind of again separated that athletic use to the north. Just a few more images of that same space. And again, that's an overview. If time allows, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I know you've got a busy meeting here, so
Sure. Any
questions if there.
for Mike?
Yeah, actually, I do have one question. So the new building looks great. It's got rooms. And so some of the things that we have historically done here in the community center will go over there now, I presume. And is that correct? Some of the activities that are sometimes held here?
I think, and board member Meiser, I'm not sure if you're referring specifically to things that kind of the school district and city do in partnership. But we're imagining a lot of different community partnerships, including those with the school district in that space. Some of the programs that we're doing, we do, kind of imagine moving from other locations to this space. We have been renting some space from the school district. We want to be able to do some of those things in our own park building. But really, we're looking at continuing a strong, productive partnership with Fridley Public Schools throughout that space. So we really value that partnership and look to keep that dialogue open and just providing more space for different types of programming. And I meet on a regular basis with Mr. Keeler, and we talk about the different kind of types of programming so that we're not doing the same things or duplicating things too much. So really see it as a kind of an ongoing partnership opportunity.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there still gonna be a basketball court?
Yes, there is. So actually, thank you for that question. The existing basketball court that's kind of up on the upper level will remain. So that'll get a few improvements. We're adding lighting to that. We're actually, we'll make sure all the baskets are kind of, redone and new. So that space will get kind of renovated, but that will remain in the existing location.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
I appreciate the time, Mike, and the city's work on this. This is certainly going to be a benefit to not only the city but our school system as well. And it's actually, a lot of us drive by Commons just about on a daily basis, and to be able to see the progress. Like one week I drove by, I'm like, oh, some paths are going to be there. The next week, drive by, oh, there's the baseball field fence. Like it's a really cool process to watch, and I really appreciate involving obviously Fridley Public Schools and other stakeholders. So.
Yeah, and if I may just add one final note, we've kind of split the construction into two phases. So your question kind of prompted this, but the phase 2, which will be the south end of the park, that construction phase will begin on July 7th. So that allows for completion of the FYSA baseball season. So that part will remain intact for another month or so here, but you'll really start to see that big change and
after that,
happening after that July 4th holiday.
For sure. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Much appreciated. Okay, board members, I'm going to ask for a little bit of grace. We're actually going to go to slide 44, and Stephen's going to present later in the superintendent's report about reorganization at the Fridley Community Center, but a portion of that, we have guests here from our Friends of the Fridley Senior Program Foundation. So I didn't want them to have to wait for a long time here. So we're going to bring them up now. So Stephen, Lori's going to put up slide 44, and you can call up our guests. Thanks. Or just need a second. There we no. Yep. Oh, never mind.
Okay. I saw you going like this. I didn't.
There we go. Perfect job. Thank you.
You can sit with me. Hello, Dr. Lewis, board chair, and school board members. Thank you for taking this time with me. I have two wonderful folks next to me, and they represent maybe a little known foundation here that supports Fridley seniors here in the Fridley community. It's the Friends of the Fridley Senior Program Foundation, and they were established. I want to just say a shout out to Connie Thompson, who actually established this foundation in support of Fridley seniors. Probably, 15, 20 years ago. I might be a little over dating that, but she started it just to make sure that if there was any transitions within the Fridley community with programming and all that, that there would always be something there to support Fridley seniors. So I've got Jack to my right here, and then we got Dan to our left, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about what we're doing here. So in my update for the restructure, one of those things unfortunately was budget cuts to the community education program due to our fund balance deficit. One of those cuts unfortunately was going to be our part-time senior coordinator position. And then we had our meeting 2 weeks ago, I think it was, where I just was giving the updates about the community ed budget, the status of where things were at, and they all found it unacceptable that we were cutting this position. And due to the work of these two gentlemen here and Connie, they've had some funds grow over the last several years, and they thought, why are we still growing this fund balance when we have a need right in front of us? So what they approved at their board meeting, and of course there were some members that I'm a voting member, but I recused myself from the vote because that wouldn't be appropriate, of course. But then we also have members from, so Margot Numedal from the city of Fridley also sits on that space, and then there's just a couple of different members from the Fridley community, or who have loved Fridley seniors for a really long time, that really sit and support that work. And really my love personally for seniors goes back to when I actually volunteered for Connie back when I was a junior at Fridley High School. So this is the senior program is something that is very near and dear to the heart actually of the Fridley Community Center. We get to say here at the Fridley Community Center that we go from literally birth to we've held funerals here, right? So it's a really holistic, beautiful space that we have, and we really are thankful for the support of the Friends of the Fridley Senior Program Foundation, because they approved $25,000, which is enough to support that position for an additional year. And then part of what we're doing with that position moving forward is to also have grant writing and grant support within that to support a couple functions for ongoing funding, because as you know, seniors are on a fixed income, so the ability to pay for senior programming is very limited. So we need to be a space where we offer free, low cost or no cost options to our seniors in Fridley, because it's really important to provide those services. So we're really excited, and upon approval from the board, we'd love to have $25,000 go right in to support Fridley seniors and the position here. So I just wanted to share that exciting update. The pictures on there was from last summer when I brought my kids out to call some bingo, and it was the theme, I don't know if you can guess, but it was Pink Pony Club. So there you go. But yeah, thank you, and I would entertain any questions from the group here.
Any questions? Nope. Great work, gentlemen. Appreciate your service and dedication to the seniors of Fridley. Obviously, it's a good partnership, and looking forward to keeping it going. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. And you will hear more from Stephen later on. So now we will pivot to our cell phone expectation update. Board, if you recall, in this early spring, we approved our policy around this, and that includes updates from our administrators. So tonight, Veronica will share from both Stevenson and Hayes. Matt will share from Fridley Middle School, and Limey will share from Fridley High School. Welcome, and thanks for being here tonight. Good to see you all.
Hello. right, good evening, our school board, students, and our cabinet. I'm Veronica Matheson. First, I am so excited about this Commons Park, and I think our littles and our families are going to just love it, and I think we're going to have a bunch of field trips that are going to be going there as well. So that'll be really fun.
Free field trips.
Yep. How many times can we go? So very exciting. So I am here to represent Stevenson and Hayes on our cell phone update, and it has gone extremely well. And we have had some cell phone issues with the littles in the past, but this last year there have been virtually none. So our policy is away for the day. So basically kids leave them at home or in their lockers, and our data shows that it's working. And so our incident reports, we document everything that is processed through principal or through our support team who responds to behavior, and we've had really none. So we just wanted to make sure that we weren't kidding ourselves. So we put out a survey to our teacher leaders from both schools and our student support teams who respond to behaviors and asked them for some feedback. And almost 94% said issues are rare. So I think that's pretty overwhelming. On our next slide, these are two quotes that I pulled that I thought kind of summed everything up really nicely. Honestly, phones at Stevenson haven't been brought up to our attention other than maybe during bus rides, but have been manageable this academic year. And then for the most part, cell phone usage is minimal at the elementary level if rules are not met. Phones are locked up or put in a secured location to avoid problems. If parents need to contact the student, they go through our proper protocol and they call the office. All right, and then we have a little bit more data here. And so this just shows when we asked about our current expectations and how they're going, 87% said they are working or mostly working. That 12.5% little chunk, when I looked at their comments, that was at dismissal, where kids were, bringing up their game while they're waiting for their parent or whatever else. So pretty minor. And then the next question down there, SSS and SST, that's our different behavior team labels. And so we asked them specifically because they're the ones who respond to bus incidents. And they said that 94% said it's rare. So the quote, I've only had a few situations with students and phones this year, and each time it was pretty redirectionable. The bus is where I have the most concern. Students filming others. Totally agree, that is the worst, but it has really not happened hardly at all or nothing serious this year. And so I think it's been great, because who wants to deal with cell phones on buses? Okay.
Inject a question on that?
Yeah.
Do you have any sense if the cell phone usage on the buses is different than it was before this policy, just because of a hangover of the daily policy?
I don't know if it's, I think that what we did different was we rolled this out at orientation. Like the first day of school is a non-student school day, but we meet with families one-on-one. And so for grades 2, 3, and 4, we talked about it specifically and went through it and had kids kind of sign off on it. And I definitely know that if we look back at the data, there would be a difference, because as a principal, I had to deal with cell phones quite a bit. From not only from the buses, but from kids saying like, I'm calling my mom, or, I'm doing this. And then the parent would be on the phone. I'm like, okay, let's slow down here. So if we were to go back in time and look at that data, yes, we would see a huge improvement. Good question, Ross. All right, this next one, really this talks about if we have had anything from parents come up. And so if you look at that bottom graphic, only the feedback, and we haven't asked specifically parents, but we could ask them. We've had some informal data of just like, thank you for not having this, because some of the things that they face are the messaging that happens at home, which is not kind and back and forth, and then sometimes that spews over into school. But we had a few parents just say that they had some appreciation of no phones, and then really majority, 87.5%, have not heard much and no concerns that have been reported. So I think they're okay with it. All right, and the last one is just moving into 25-26 for elementary. We will continue with our same exact agreement. We will share those expectations at orientation. We might expand it to K1 because every once in a while we have a little showing up with a phone thinking that that can be something they can use, and then it becomes a kind of a toy problem. And then we will share it in our back to school newsletter and case by case problem solving if things come up.
I think you can. There we go. Perfect. First and foremost, good evening, everybody. I'll share a quick update about Fridley Middle School and how our cell phone policy is going. We are also doing the away for the day model. Okay. Basically, what that means is 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. phones are not to be out or used during the day. They are either left in their lockers or they are not to come out during the day. Obviously, this minimizes temptation, right? We know when a notification goes off on all of our phones, our first temptation is to look at it, right? And so not having them on them really minimizes that temptation. We do have a couple students who do carry their phones with them still. Those are generally for medical reasons. Some of our kids track medical things on their phones. And then we do have a couple parents who have voiced some concern over this. We know we have some families who want to be able to contact their kids in case of an emergency. Okay, we understand that that is a thing, and we want to honor that. So what we have done in order to kind of meet those needs is we have one-on-one meetings with all of those families, and we kind of come up with like a very specific plan in terms of what and how that student will carry their phone during the day. Really solid expectations around, yes, they can maybe have it in a specific binder or pencil pouch or whatever it is, but it cannot come out during the day. We have really laid out clear expectations for our students, and it started from day one. I will show you in a little bit the cell phone flow chart, but expectations have really been there from the start. And then consistent reminders, this is a big thing that we've been doing. Dr. Cochran and myself make announcements consistently, remind our grade levels in lunches about what the expectations are. Dr. Cochran and I hold Google meetings for the whole school to tune into. And then our deans run kind of like incentive plans to make sure that we aren't seeing any incidents during the school day. So if you move on to the second one, this is our away for the day flow chart. Really just documents kind of like the progress of what happens if students are having incidents in the building, right? So student takes out their phone one time, excuse me, it is caught by a dean or a teacher, comes to the AP office for the day, kid gets it back at the end of the day. Dean has a conversation with them, just making sure, hey, let's make sure this doesn't happen again. If it happens a second time, student brings the phone to the AP office and a guardian has to pick it up before the end of the day. If it happens a third time, this is when parents are required to pick it up, but we have a meeting with an administrator during that time. And then the fourth one, which has not happened very often, but if it happens for a fourth time, basically we bring the parent or guardian in and just come up with a really concrete plan of like where that phone goes every single day. For example, we have one student who had a hard time with this, right? He had this attachment to his phone and his headphones that was really hard to kind of break away of. We brought the guardian in. Now, every single day he comes to the AP office, he drops off his cell phone and his headphones with my administrative assistant, gets locked up for the day, comes back at the end of the day like clockwork, picks up his phone and his headphones, and we haven't had an incident since. Can go to the next one. We did pull some data for this, and basically the way that we track this is anytime a cell phone incident occurs, our student support team tracks it. And really what we've found is we still have about 12.5% of our students who have had violations with this, right? Who have had incidents. And I'll get to one other step with that in the next slide. But we still have about 12.4%, and it's not what we ideally want. However, we also know that this is new, right? This is a change for us, and this is something that our kids have been really adapting to, but it is hard. We know the population of our 7th and 8th grade students have really been looking forward to having their cell phones, so this is difficult sometimes. What we do notice, though, on the right-hand slide or right-hand diagram is that 30% of this 12.4% of incidents have been a single incident. But what that tells me is that when we are seeing a small percentage of our students who are having multiple incidents, like that 63%, it shows me that we need to really work on partnering with families and making sure that this is something that we try to kind of crack down on moving forward. If you notice on the bottom there, we have about 45% of our repeating students that have specific family plans. So as I referenced before, the student who comes in and turns in his phone every single day, that is a great indicator of what a successful plan can look like with families. We know that there are barriers to that sometimes of getting families in and agreeing to those plans. However, we have seen it be really successful, and this data is what we will really take and look to if we need to change any of it moving forward. If you go to the next slide, this one is really exciting to me, and it might not look exciting, but the reason it's exciting to me is because if you look at the percentages so when we look at all the incidents across our building, you will notice 8th grade has the most, right? But one of the things that I go back to is as our 8th graders move on to high school and we welcome a new incoming 5th grade class, our 7th graders who had this plan for the first time this year had never experienced a allowance of phones in the building. Okay, so this isn't new for them, which is why the percentage is pretty low. 8th graders currently were allowed to use their phones last year, and so this was a really difficult change for them. However, when we have our 8th graders move on and we welcome in our 5th grade class, not a single student in our building will have known Fridley Middle School as a place that we use cell phones. Okay, which is really encouraging for us. This is when we are going to be able to see these incidents drop even farther, because all of our students, because 5th and 6th graders don't have phones ever in our building. And so this is going to be something that's just a lot more manageable as we continue to move on and welcome new students in. Couple just real quick pieces of feedback. I won't read them all to you. Overall, it's been really, really positive. Teachers, I cannot tell you enough the amount of times we go to meetings and teachers are like, oh, kids are actually talking to each other, right? It sounds silly, but it's so true. We obviously I've come and spoke about Lavinia work and achievement season, and we would not have been able to do that if we had rampant cell phone issues. Okay, our kids were focused in the classroom. They didn't have cell phone issues. We just took the MCAs. In the past, we've had issues with cell phones during MCAs. I think we had one this year, which is really, really cool. Overall, it's been really, really good. Our kids are focused in the classroom. Primarily, the incidents are with 8th grade right now. And 7th grade, has said, we don't really see them in the classroom, which is great. We do see them sometimes in the hallways and sometimes in the lunchrooms, which is part of this for us to recognize there's always still room to grow, right? Some of the feedback that we've gotten is it's going really well, but we can improve upon it even more, which is something I'm really excited about moving forward. Next steps, we are always looking at additional technology supports. As we know, those get released every single day. There's cool things like cell phone hotels. Kids are really worried about having their phones charged, right? And so kids can bring them down to the AP office. They can go into this cell phone hotel, be charged during the day, and then they can pick them up at the end of the day. We do have, I've been working with our technology department on internet access because some of our kids are logging in through the guest Wi-Fi because they're smart and using it that way, even though they might not have data on their phone. They are very creative. We are something new, which we're really excited about. We are offering media classes for our 5th grade students, which is new going into next year. that's going to really talk about like healthy technology use, appropriate technology use, the reason why sometimes technology should not be used. And so we're really excited for that. Hopefully that can carry with them as they go through their middle school career. Always looking at better ways of notifying parents and notifying them quickly. Right now it's kind of falling on grade level deans, but we want to streamline that process. We are taking the data that I just presented to you and showing it to our leadership teams to see if we want to, as a building, update what our flow chart looks like, getting feedback from our leadership teams, and just making sure that we are addressing any concerns that they may be seeing in the classroom. And as I said, really excited for the pathway forward. We know it's a change and it's hard for our kids, and cell phones are tied to them a lot, right? We get that. But as we continue to move forward with Fridley and all of our students now knowing Fridley Middle School is a way for the day school, we really see a lot of exciting changes coming up.
Quick question, if I may, Matt. So enforcement still relies on, individual teachers seeing it, or so there's probably some variability about how strictly, but how just generally, like in the hallway, if someone sees the phone in the hallway, are you going to make a big deal of it, or is that not yet?
I would say almost all the time, if kids are using them, right, we are calling it out. Our deans are very quick to be like, hey, I see that most of the time when a kid is using it, and we say, hey, come on. They do this look where they're like, and they hand it over. Kids have been really great about the response to it. I would say to start the school year, it was a lot of like the reminders and the reteaching of please put that away, bring it to your locker. As we've started to move forward and really, as we've gone into the end of the school year, we're really like making sure we hit it home, because we know that our kids get a little bit of spring fever, right? And we want to make sure that we hold expectations high. For the most part, they're doing really well with it. We have a couple that, they're really attached to it. But we call it out all the time. I think our deans walk around at any given time as they walk to the office. They have a couple cell phones in their pockets, and they drop them off with Miss Kat, my administrative assistant. She documents it and she keeps them for the day. Kids are pretty quick to be able to respond to it, and we've worked with them a lot during the school year, but as we've gone on, the expectations continue to grow.
All right. Okay. Good evening. Wami Zarley, if you didn't know, assistant principal at the high school. So we actually started at the high school a little different. We first didn't want to roll it out, but met with the team, and because we had until March to actually start this. And so the decision was, let's go ahead and take our lumps early, and then, whatever feedback we get, we can make adjustments. So we started with the plan of, you can have your cell phones, but just not during the class time. So we're looking at it from an angle of, these are learning young adults, soon to be, right? And we wanted to at least give them the autonomy to learn how to more manage and control their use of the cell phone. So we went with that approach. And so from that, we actually had the block party where we had the cell phone agreement, things like that. Families were signing. I'm sure it was a very long list. I don't know how many of them actually read through it thoroughly, but even if they didn't, we had messengers, continuous messengers that went out throughout the school year, from each break, MEA break, November holiday break, and of course winter break. Just constantly sending out that messaging, as well as every time we had conferences rolling around, that messaging went out, as well as through our newsletters, we had the constant reminders. And so we took that approach. For our teachers, we can go to the next slide. For our teachers, we went through a couple of different iterations when it comes to just the whole phone procedure. And we definitely had to make sure the verbiage was right, not policy, but procedure. Thank you, Dr. Lewis. And so from that, what we did is that we started off using the middle school model, but then even with that model, it was just something that became a little too tedious, a little too much for our teachers to just be able to constantly be on top. And so with that, as our two young scholars are here, I was making visits to the classrooms. And during these visits, actually, let me rewind. Before we actually started making these visits, we met with all our scholars, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, and 12th grade. Really just sending home the messaging, used a little bit of humor, took some stuff from the 90s movies, New Jack City, and really just really expressed the fact that when you're using the phone, we don't want you to be someone who gets attached and it becomes an addiction, right? And so I used that spin and was basically stating you don't want to be a pookie. And so like the kids kind of ran with it. They enjoyed it. It was very easy for them to turn over their phones if they happen to get caught within the classroom with it. And I don't know if these two young ladies were ever a pookie at a time, but at the same time, they enjoyed the fact that, you know what, I'm going to hand over my phone, and it was never any pushback. And they had a lot of fun with it because there was times they were joining me as well as our team, entering into classrooms and just like, oh, catch that person, get that person. And so we were able to do that for semester 1 just to support our teachers so they could focus a little bit more on the instruction. Now we rolled into semester 2, and this is what came out of semester 2. So like now empowering our teachers to, again, let's start with the first reminder. That should be your intro, your introduction. That should be part of your routine. Everyone put their phones away. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with this do now or whatever it may be for that introduction portion of the lesson. And then if there happens to be an opportunity where you have to go up to another scholar and approach them, hey, I need you to put it away, that's the second reminder. And then if it gets to a third, that's when you document. Once you document it, if you run through that process 3 times, then we get a response through our phone support team, through our 134 team. And so we broke it down by individuals within the restorative suite. So Mr. Redepenning had our seniors, Mr. Richter had our juniors, Miss Megan had our sophomores, and Miss Kai had our freshmen. So they were running and paying attention to this report. We can go to the next slide. And so from that report this semester, like Mr. Engelhardt had expressed, our 9th graders, when you see there's 325 responses from our 9th graders alone, they have the highest number just because, it was something that they're glued to. They're still learning. They're kind of in their wonder years now, rolling into getting out of their freshman year. And so it's been a struggle, a little bit of a struggle for them. Our sophomores, it's getting a little better for them with 292 responses for those sophomores. And so PLP is a place where every communication is placed in, and then also plans can live there as well. So anytime you're having these conversations with families, scholars, teachers, whatever, that report goes into that log. And so we can always track to see, okay, yep, you've had 3, now we have to move to another step, which happens to be the contract. We can move to the next slide. And so here are our juniors with 289. You can see the number is starting to decrease. And then if we roll to our seniors, there's 190. So as we get older and more mature, we have a better understanding of I have phone control. I can put it away when the teacher tells me to. And also to Mr. Engelhardt's point, the conversations have become a lot more rich in the classroom. Kids are actually having conversations with one another, playing tic-tac-toe, coloring, things like that. I'm just like, wow, okay. All right, kids being kids, which is great. And the conversation is just happening more, where it's like, why are you texting somebody when they're right across from you? You can actually literally have a conversation. So it's been really good when it comes to that. And also our teachers. Our teachers feel like there's not a lot of tug of war or any type of pushback that's taking place with them and the scholars. So it's just been real easy to redirect for them and to make things manageable. We can roll to the next one. And so what happens is when they go through that process, they end up on phone contracts. And in semester 1, we had 15 kids that ended up on phone contracts. So that contract takes you into the remainder of that semester. So therefore, you have to turn in your phone to the front office, or your family just keeps it at home. It doesn't really matter which one. We just want to make sure. The other piece is that when that happens, we inform all of those classroom teachers, hey, these individuals happen to be on phone contracts. If you happen to spot a phone, because our kids are slick and they're smart, they've got what they call burner phones, so it's basically a fake phone. You can have that, and then I'll just kind of get through the day. So we've went through those obstacles and been able to kind of figure those things out. And then semester 2, in semester 1, I had expressed how I was making classroom visits and things like that. That really helped our team by modeling that, and then they have now been making those room spaces where they walk in and they're really just checking to make sure things are happening like they should be. So they increased a lot in April. I think it was like 36 visits happening per week, and it was just something that we were really on. But at the end of the day, teachers were able to focus on instruction. Kids were able to learn and have rich conversations, not just with their teacher, but then also with their peers. And then feedback. So the feedback, I just kind of expressed some of that. Teacher to scholar conversation is becoming a lot more enriched. Scholar to scholar is even stronger, which is better. And then, of course, teachers aren't feeling like they're in situations where there's a power struggle. It's just very easy for them. A kid is like, yep, all right, I'll put it up, my bad. The only other things, as far as like the process and the flow, has been some of the outliers. Like Mr. McConville will say, we try to expand our circle, but there's always those corners. And within those corners, we've had situations where, to Mr. Englehart's expression earlier, is just, we have to go back to the drawing board with the family member and say, hey, you're on a contract, your kid wasn't turning in their phone, can you now start keeping it at home? And then, of course, some of the things that we've went through this year when it comes to emergency lockdowns and us closing schools, our families have used that expression to where it's like, no, my child needs the phone just in case, because there's been incidents that's happened, and I would like to know when that's happening. And so we just try to combat those conversations, but at the end of the day, we hear them, but in the end, we want to do what's right for all. And it's just not for the individual, it's actually for all. So been able to have those conversations. Some have went well, some is still kind of back and forth, but at the end of the day, they understand the importance, because I can go back to other data as far as like attendance and grades and things like that if I need to when it comes to that. So the last piece.
Limey, just in the interest of time,
Yep.
we will be sending this out to our
Sweet.
school board, so the video we won't show tonight, but
Excellent.
they'll get that.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. And so that was just the next step. So I've been having conversations with a corporation or business called Yonder, and that is kind of like starting to spread like wildfire a little bit. But the main thing is, if you've been to concerts or comedy shows, things like that, that don't want phones, you place these your device into these like little like pouches, and you lock them up for the day. And so that's what I would like to move to, because at the end of the day, each scholar still has their phone. So it's not like you're taking it. It makes it even easier for the classroom teacher, because it's like, I just need you to have your phone in the Yonder bag. And then we can still do things like at our one lunch and at the end of the day, where we have locks placed throughout the building, and kids can just go there, get them unlocked, and go about their business. So that's kind of like the hope. But again, if that's something that's not able to happen, we'll just continue to keep making adjustments to our practices. But that's kind of how things are rolling at the high school. Really appreciate the opportunity to present, and so thank you.
Board members, when you think of Yonder, think of like when you buy something at Target and they use that device to take the
Security takeoff.
Yep, exactly. So you can't, when you get home, you have to bring the item back if it's still on there. So that's what I was thinking when I saw the Yonder piece. So yeah. Board members, questions, comments?
Any questions? Ross?
Yeah, Mr. Zarley, I really like how things are going. I'm curious about what your reaction or opinion is to the middle school policy about confiscating a phone for a day. Is that just doesn't make sense at the high school level? Is that an option to consider?
Oh, no, I could have went in a little bit more detail. So like when we have incidents, so we had that earlier in the year, first semester, when we were going into classrooms and we got the phones, they didn't get it until the end of the day. And they kind of got the message because it was like a couple of kids were like, wow, thank you. I was able to really focus and get stuff done. And it's like, okay, great. You want to keep turning it in some more? We can help you with this. And so, and now with those classroom visits from our restorative team, that's what takes place. So anytime they go in, and they go early, they try to go in within the first 3 hours, because right around fourth hour, you can take a phone, but it's only like 3 hours. So we really try to go in at an early time, hours 1, 2, or 3, and then be able to, if you're on your phone, then we take it and it ends up in the front office for the day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions? Thanks for leaning into this work. Like, we knew that this wasn't going to be an easy ask. Limey, I think you had the most difficult task of the 3 schools, obviously. But unrelated, please pass along to your other APs and principals. Congratulations on a great year. You guys are killing it. 100% we are noticing the changes in our schools with test scores, behaviors, things of that nature. Please keep up the good work and just know that you're appreciated, and hopefully enjoy some. I know you don't take the summers off, but a different type of work day coming up here in a few weeks. So thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, team. Great work. It's now my absolute pleasure to welcome Matt Hammer from Ellers, and Matt is our senior municipal advisor. And I already got the sneak peek, so I'm super excited to have Matt give us some really great news today. So welcome, Matt.
Yes, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Lewis, Matt Hammer from Ellers, district's financial advisor. We're here to talk about phase 1 of the issuance that we previewed in April. And we received bids this morning, so we ended up taking competitive bids like we were planning. We ended up with 3 bidders. We like to see at least 3, so we were excited to see that result. The 3 bidders were Hilltop Securities, Raymond James, and Baird. Hilltop Securities offered the lowest true interest cost as part of the sale this morning. Raymond James was the cover bid, which was really close when you look at the bid tab, and then Baird was the high bidder, which was the lowest cost, or lowest TIC or true interest cost was 4.66%. If you go back to our pre-sale report last month, we were estimating a 4.9% rate. So we were underneath that estimate, and we also received better reoffering yields as part of the sale. So that's going to allow us to deposit about $185,000 more into the construction fund for phase 1. I think that's an important piece, and it's a good start as we look at getting things going with phase 1 of the project. The details, if we scroll, we're closing on June 12th. So the bond proceeds will be available for the district to start funding projects, which is in plenty of time as the district starts looking at the projects that were approved by voters in November of 24. We do have a call date on these bonds, like we talked about. The maturities that are callable start in February 1 of 2034. And I think when we go to the next page, Lori, you'll see, or the next one, sorry, these are the reoffering yields of the coupon rates. It's likely we'll be able to refinance these bonds when we get out 8 years from now based on the current rates that we receive today, because those coupon rates you can see are between 4.5% and 5%. And typically, assuming we keep tax exempt financing available to us as we move forward at the federal level, which right now it looks like we're going to continue on with, it's likely we'll be able to generate some savings in a future refinancing when we get out to those call dates. There's the list of bidders. Right now, as we look at where we're at on that sources and uses page, the next page, Lori, our phase 1, we've always been assuming we were going to do this in 2 phases. You can see on the left, those are our results. We're depositing about $14 million, a little bit north of $14 million into the construction fund for phase 1. And then our estimate overall between the two issuances right now is about $28.5 million of funds that we'll have available, and that'll be determined as we get into the next financing, which is scheduled right now for early 27. And then I'll just have you skip to the very last page, and then I can answer any questions folks have. This is where we're at as we go back to the initial plan. The levies that were already established, those are being collected as part of the district's taxes payable 25 levy. They were estimated at the time when we set the district's levies. We've utilized that. We have a little bit less capitalized interest as part of the plan to control those levies in the front end. And then as we go through that, and from the rate perspective, we're assuming that we're not going to have any tax increases as part of the overall plan. So with that, I can answer any questions folks have in regards to the bond sale. We're very pleased with the results. So we were excited to see the bidders we received this morning, and excited to see the positive result to get us off to a good start in the overall project and getting the funds in hand to start the projects for the district here.
Awesome. Any questions for Matt? Well, see you none. As always, Matt, thanks for your work, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks everybody. We'll be back here hopefully in a couple years, right?
There you go.
Some additional good results.
Just keep bringing money.
The funniest thing about this is right after the closing date, I'll get a one-line email that says $14 million has been deposited into your account. That's all it'll say. So I laughed last year when that came, and the funniest piece about that was it came into spam. So it was just a very interesting thing. So
Will you forward that? Because it's
Okay,
the only time
I
we're
will.
ever going to get an email like that.
I will absolutely send it because it's just like one line. You know, it's kind of like a wedding or something where you plan and plan and plan and plan and plan, and then it's over, and then like this, and then all you get is a one-liner. So anyway, thank you, Matt. Good to see you as always. Good work.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Next up, I'm absolutely pleased to welcome Jason Munzenberger to talk about our revised budget. And I noticed that Lori put a binder graphic here, and I have an aversion to binders. So maybe, Jason, you love them, but I just had to laugh that she lovely put a binder there for me. So anyway, welcome, Jason. Good to see you as always.
Thank you. Nice to see everybody. Good evening. I do like that slide. I'm not a binder guy either, but it's a cool looking slide. So very fun. Yes, tonight I have for you the revised budget for the current year for approval. We look at a number of things when we go through the mid-year financials to look at what we need to revise. The first thing is enrollment. Enrollment drives a lot of our revenue, it drives a lot of our expense as well. And so we take a look at actual enrollment versus our budget and then make those adjustments within each of the account codes. We also take a look at state and federal funding as those often have shifted or changed slightly as we prepare the budget in May, June timeframe, approval in June. So we true all those numbers up as well. Staffing certainly is one that fluctuates as well as we hire through the summer. As we have resignations and rehires, we go ahead and take a look at all staff and all of their benefits, make those adjustments in any contracts that may have been updated since we created the budget. We do look at all account activity for the current year, just to make sure that we're picking up all of the activity, not necessarily exactly what we budgeted for at the time, but making sure we account for everything that is currently being spent. Deferred maintenance items, we've talked a lot about that in recent years, and so we take a closer look at deferred maintenance and make sure those are items that we're picking up as well. And then we factor in those prior year financial audit results so that we have a true beginning balance for our fund balance. So I think the big picture for general fund, that's where we spend most of our time and resources in. If I go straight to the bottom, our fund balance we had projected to decline by about $4.5 million. We're only going to decline by about $2.4 million. So that's a significant improvement of $2 million, and I think that's something to be very proud of. Enrollment is driving a lot of that change. Enrollment continues to go up, and so that benefits us both on that revenue side and a little bit on expense as well. So revenues for The general fund are up about 2.6 million. Most of that is due to enrollment, also some special ed revenue, some tax revenue. We'll talk about those specifics in a minute. Expenses are up about 500,000. We'll get into those as well, and overall $2 million. So great news on general fund. So the revenue adjustments that make up that that $2.5 million increase, state general education aid. So that's what's driving enrollment, drives that number. So that's the main change. We saw a pretty significant increase in enrollment for this year compared to our budget. We always budget conservatively. That's one of those pieces that is just in our nature to make sure we're on the correct side of it. This year we saw a pretty significant growth in enrollment. So wonderful news, and you can see the impact on the revenue. Property taxes, we did pick up a couple of additional things in there as well to make sure that we have all the property tax levy information accounted for. Other state sources is really driven by special ed revenue this year. We continue to see increased expenses, which also brings us additional revenue. And so we're seeing a pretty significant increase on that sped revenue. With just a small decrease in our local revenue, our fees, donations, interest income, all those kinds of items fall within that other category, just a small decrease. And then we're picking up about $900,000 in federal grant revenue. Really what that is spending of and picking up some of the carryover money that we've had in previous years and budgeting for that as we're picking up those expenses on the other side. From the expense adjustments, we have a little bit of an increase on salaries and wages. We go through all staff and make sure that we're accounting for their salaries correctly. We have some changes in staff between when we prepare the budget and this time of the year, so we've accounted for those. Benefits, we also estimate the benefits that employees will choose, and during open enrollment in the fall, employees have a choice of medical plans and different benefits, and so we're seeing a reduction in our budget amounts for that. Purchase services, we have a pretty significant increase there. We saw increases across a number of categories, from consultants like myself to our legal fees and some of our other professional services, and so we're accounting for those. Supplies and equipment, I think the district has done a wonderful job trying to manage some of those expenses going out the door, and we see that benefit here of a reduction of $100,000. We have some other expenditures, which are memberships and dues, a transfer to another fund that are picking up at about $150,000, and then some increase on that federal grant expenses, all totaling about $500,000. The board approves all funds, so just in kind of a high level with all funds, that general fund decrease on that right column should show 2.6 million, as it did on the other page and was reflected that way, but 54.1 million of general fund revenue. Food service revenue is going up slightly by about 43,000. Some additional meal participation is driving that. Community service, we have a little bit of reduction of 48,000 on community service. Construction, we're up about $1 million in additional revenue. No change in debt redemption or our internal service funds. Our OPEB debt and trust fund, we're showing an increase as well. And there's a levy component that's driving that number up. So in total, all funds are at about 76 million for the current year, it's about 4.5 million in total. On the expense side, general fund, as I mentioned, was increasing by 500,000. No changes in the other funds except for debt service, which is going up by about 36,000. So in total, we have an expense budget of about 78 million with just under 600,000 in changes. Those are all the comments that I really have tonight. We take this information after the board approves and roll this into our adopted budget. That we'll bring forward at next month's meeting. We'll use those as kind of that gauge as we start building those revenues and expenses. And in full transparency, the adopted budget is largely built already. And Rochelle and I just have to work through some of those final details, and that'll be ready to go forward. At that meeting, we'll walk through fund balances a little bit more in detail, as well as I'm sure that's part of the wanderings of where we're going to be. And so we'll get into the specific details around all the funds and the fund balances as we move into the next budget cycle. But this would set us for the current year, and I think put us in a wonderful spot to end this fiscal year.
Awesome. Any questions for Jason?
Are you able to guess or predict where our fund balance is headed?
It's improving,
It
right?
is. I see that. I know that.
And so that's good. We just this afternoon, we were working on some the 5-year financial projection for that fund balance, and I'd rather we wait till the next meeting, and we can walk through that in a little more detail.
Awesome. Thanks for the work on that, Jason, and as usual, just kind of explaining it to us in layman's terms where we're at. So certainly good work.
Thank you,
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. All right. Now I'm so excited for Ayana and Decca to share with us their experience as school board members. So take it away, ladies.
Oh wow, I cannot read it from here. Okay. So I'm just gonna talk about my experience from both the junior and senior year, since I was the student representative for both. Okay, thanks. Okay, so when I was first appointed to the role, I felt like I really did not understand much about like the school board in general, like all the things that goes on like outside of just like what the students do. And I feel like out of all my extracurriculars, this was definitely the most like impactful to like how I'm going to go on in the future, because I don't know, I really enjoyed getting to like just talk about different things going on in schools and give my opinions on just different things, and getting to learn about it. I also got to be a part of the district advisory council, I believe, where I got to be with different teachers and just talk about like how I feel things could be improved, like ACT score preparations and different things like that. And yeah, I just feel like it was really like, I really enjoyed being able to like talk about things that I feel strongly about, and like, cause you know, I have a family and a lot of friends who are continuing to be in Fridley even though I'm graduating. So getting to like leave Fridley better than I came it to be is just something that's I'm really excited about being able to do. And I feel like one thing that is really important to me is getting to continue having like the student voice on the board, because I know that this was the reason why we were enjoying these meetings in the first place. So I'm really excited with like the new process of bringing people onto the board and just letting the students have more of an impact on whoever gets to be on the board next year. And yeah, so my plans after this is next year I'll be going to the University of Virginia to study neuroscience on a pre-dental track.
Wow.
So yeah.
Outstanding.
So great.
Good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
You
Can I
need
go next?
that.
Oh, is it on?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Sound great.
So I don't think okay, so basically going into my junior year, like from sophomore year coming into this role or whatever, I think the same thing that Decca said, like I didn't really know much about it, and I kind of just I looked at it as a new opportunity just to become more of a leader, and I was able to experience like other opportunities like outside of the board, like going to other places and just thinking about like, you know, what I want to do. And as I like started to understand what the role really was, you know, being able to bring in like new ideas after going to that the thing that so where'd you take me?
Oh, we went to a student school board representative conference in Shakopee.
Yeah, that conference, I feel like honestly that conference changed my life. Like it was so
Wow.
good. It honestly like made me think of like the student reports that I really want to be able to do a lot more for next year, coming onto the school board with the new member, and being able to just have more of a voice while on the board, because I just don't want us to be sitting here every meeting. I want to talk every meeting. And I think this experience has made me have more of a voice, not just here, but also within the district and the schools, you know, visiting the other schools and being able to like talk to other students and see how they feel about everything, and also being able to take my leadership skills that I've got from the conference at Shakopee and going to and like bring my ideas and stuff that I got from there also into like the school and like becoming, like bring it to MHS and like also bring it to student council and BSU and all that. So I feel like I'm really happy that this year I was able to figure out what I want more so I can implement that next year to make this a better experience for everyone and all the future members.
Okay.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you.
Any questions? No. Fantastic job.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Don't drop it.
Okay, now Stephen is going to return to talk about our Fridley Community Center reorganization, as Stephen has been diligently working on these past several years, is fiscal health within our community education programming while still sustaining high quality programming. And you saw a little bit of that tonight earlier. So Stephen, go ahead and share with us about the changes in community ed.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. Thank you again, Superintendent Lewis and Board Chair Carnop and school board members for having me. You've seen my senior center update already, so I'll just be giving you 2 additional updates. One is about that organizational update, and then an aquatics consortium update as well. We can go to the next slide, Lori. So it's a little busy to see from here, but one of the main things I wanted to highlight is that we did have some budget reductions that were needed just to continue to chip away at that fund balance. What we wanted to do and what we continue to do in alignment with the larger school district is keeping those cuts away from the classroom and child care program as much as possible. We did that very successfully this year. So some of the changes that you'll see really our 2 approaches is a student-centered approach. So some of the realignment actually goes to serve our students better, not just to realign. Like we took a very thoughtful approach to what we're doing here. And then we just have a really, really strong administrator in Afalabi here in Fridley Public Schools. So what you'll see here is an elevation of that position into the principal of FCC, and then I'll be moving to provide critical services still within the community education department, where we have some loss of staff there. We are able to retain that senior programs coordinator, so that'll be still part of this program, which then will increase my capacity to serve the community even more. The other big update here that I'm just really excited about is we are revamping the way that we do special services, early childhood special education in this building. This is something that quite frankly, admired the problem for a decade, and it's been time for a change now here. And this change will align our services and the way we service our students and where we service our students to make sure that our students are served the best that we possibly can. So within this update, we are having a clear reporting structure where the resource teachers in 3 and 4-year-old are embedded into the classrooms with their gen ed counterparts, and then our birth to 3 programming is directly supervised by that director of special services. So we've heard feedback from staff that reporting structures weren't clear, and we've heard from our families and students that we just didn't see some of our teachers enough in the classroom, quite frankly. So we're trying to mitigate that, and then also adding some key spaces like expanded gross motor room, a calming space for all students, and then just expanding where we service our students in general. So that is the bulk of that update, and we're just really excited to really do the good work, and as Brenda has said, the right work for our students. And this is a big testament to that, because Fridley Community Center is the space that every student enters at one point or another in their life, and we want to make sure that our preschool is a part of really elevating their experience and propelling them to other parts of the buildings. So we're really excited about this change.
Stephen, I believe that Afolabi is the first administrator of color here. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yes, and this is also another important. Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for elevating that. Afolabi is our first black male superintendent. Future.
Yes,
future.
Absolutely.
I'm manifesting that right now. But he is our first black male principal in the history of Fridley Community Center, in the 40 years of Fridley community education here. It's a big deal. And I am so thrilled to be supporting and working underneath his leadership. He brings experience from elementary schools. He's worked for preschools. He's worked at every level. And he gets community education too. So we are completely synced and aligned and really excited for what 25-26 has to offer. So just happy to share that update with you.
Ironically, he emailed me to ask if he can do his superintendent hours internship under me. So there you go. You manifested that.
I knew it. And then we can just go one more slide, Lori. This is this is a strategic move by us. I've been in conversation with my counterpart from St. Anthony New Brighton Public Schools, Wendy Webster, also the mayor of St. Anthony. But we've been having conversations about what the consortium can look like in light of the 21st Century Grant that this district should be getting. We'll hopefully be finding here in May, early June timeframe. So we did have to cut our aquatics adult and youth enrichment coordinator, not due to her skill set or the performance, but due to the budget, right? So we wanted to work strongly with our staffs to create a transitional plan, because while the fiscal year ends June 30th, our summer swimming lessons carries through to the middle of August. So we wanted to create a continuity plan that made sense for the staff that work underneath her, and then also just do a little bit of future casting for what we want this to look like in the future. So Sasha actually will retain employment, but through St. Anthony New Brighton Public Schools, and they will fully fund that position starting in June 12th, which will then, of course, save a little bit of money, about 2 weeks worth of staffing expenditures for Fridley Public Schools. But then we are going to continue the consortium on a month-to-month basis. And the reason for that is because if we do get that 21st Century Grant funding, a key component to that is enrichment. And another key component to that is offering free swimming lessons to district enrolled students. The future for the aquatics, I'll just say it right now, has to be free lessons for all students that go to Fridley Public Schools. St. Paul Parks and Recreation has been doing it for at least this year, so my work in this summer will be to engage in conversations and look for additional opportunities to make sure that swimming lessons for our students are free. It'll be a heavy lift, but as you can see with the organizational realignment, freeing my capacity up and having that grant position within the senior programs part of that will help us to do the research and do the work that's necessary to make that a possibility here. So that is the why behind this. So while the aquatics consortium may be ending, it's for a reason, because we already have good aquatic staff that are working through the consortium, and we intend to create some continuity there where we can still offer those services, but contracted through St. Anthony New Brighton Public Schools. So that is the hope. And then we will continue to keep you updated as we find out more about the grant, and then of course other funding opportunities. But those are, I think, very exciting updates for community education and the community center as a whole. So thank you to the board's support, and of course to Superintendent Lewis and Afolabi and Rochelle for their guidance and support as well.
Awesome. Any questions for Stephen? No? Thank you, Stephen. Great work.
Okay, and I know Stephen has to scoot, so excellent job. Good to see you. Great work. Thanks. Okay, next up, I am thrilled to talk about our Employee of Excellence. So, Carlos Villagomez is a new addition to us. You've heard me talk about his work, and he's nothing short of amazing. So, he is dedicated to our students and families and has created strong relationships within the schools and our community. He's an invaluable asset when it comes to family communication, student-family meetings, academic, and the social-emotional support for our students. He's always willing to step into difficult situations. He helps with IEP meetings, 504 meetings, student behavior concerns, and so much more. Carlos is incredibly kind. You can just feel that in his interactions with staff members, with students, with families. He is very hardworking. He shares valuable ideas, participates in planning meetings, and puts students and families first. He's also just a magnet for our families. They come to him and share some pretty vulnerable things, and he's very much able to help him and to step right up to the plate and really goes above and beyond. I want to share a quote from Jessica Miller Johnson, our Dean of Students at FHS. I cannot emphasize enough how valuable Carlos has been for our district. He is reliable, consistent, and fair. He deserves as much positive recognition as possible. I am grateful to be his colleague. One of the pieces I wanted to share is right after the Safe Schools designation was removed, like literally that week, we held that pre-planned family breakfast for families that were newer to our country, and we were a little bit nervous about what turnout would be, and Carlos was there, and we had fantastic turnout, and our families just were so thankful for Carlos and his work as well. Last week we held a Wilson Family Law information session for families that wanted to come. We actually didn't have families join, which in part I think was a good thing on immigration pieces, but Carlos has that information and is also there to help our families with those pieces. He's also been so successful that as we have looked at our structures around our liaisons and the use of our achievement and integration dollars, we're actually adding a second position here. So I'm just thrilled of what a great addition he is to our district. We also are employing him for some additional supports over the summer too. So he's just fantastic. So congratulations to him. Now we get to honor Decca. So Decca, it's just been wonderful to have you. You are Fridley's first 2-year consecutive student school board rep. So we are so proud of you. Your future is bright. We can all see that. And we just wish you all the best, and thank you for representing our students and our district so commendably. So we're so proud of you. We have another goodbye here tonight, and this is for Eric Keeler. So Eric, we're sorry to see you go a little earlier than we thought, but you have just been a tremendous asset to us. It's been fun for me to get to know you, and I appreciate all your enthusiasm for Fridley Public Schools and how you represent alums so much. And just on a personal note, my Ugo just loved being in the musical with you last year too, so you're such a good role model as well. So we appreciate you so much, and we're so honored to have worked alongside of you. All right, our staff appreciation ice cream has been so fun. We finished our last one today, correct? Mm-hmm. Yep. So our Student Nutrition Services Director, Renee, brings the ice cream and all the different toppings, and we celebrate our staff. And it's just a lovely way for staff to come in, grab some treats, and I appreciate that our school board members join in as well. And every time staff says, oh my gosh, we love your aprons. So there's some kind of jealousy going on there, which we are fine with people being jealous about our aprons. So anyway, that's just a lovely event. event, and I had posted that on my professional LinkedIn account, not the school district one, and people are like crazy reaching out about that. They're like, this is great, we're gonna start doing it, all of that. So, and my secret is I can't stand to be have anything sticky. I think it's because I had 3 kids in 4 years, and so everything is like mystery sticky when they're that age, and so I don't actually help with it, but I look like I do. So I always make sure, I'm like, oh my gosh, Sarah, you love to scoop. Steven is major into scooping. Ross, you love to scoop too. So I always know. I'm like, you're good to scoop, right? And then I just stand there and I occasionally will shake like the Oreo bowl. But that's not sticky. So that's my huge contribution to the ice cream, but it looks like I'm working. It really does. So anyway, next up, I have done our reductions in a different way this year. And you've heard me talk about how sometimes in school districts, and we all have our own styles as superintendents, sometimes there's a lot of attention that's given around reductions. My approach, I think reductions, when we talk about that, I think that's pretty scary. I think people start to think, well, I have a job. I think families start to think our class size is going to go up substantially. And it's also an interesting time, too, as we enter into labor negotiations. I never want to have this feeling of maybe putting out information that looks like I'm messaging to unions and a message that isn't what is intentional. So I'm just very mindful about how we do our reductions. So board, you have actually seen these reductions in a rollout fashion this year, but I'm going to go through them in what I call a block of what our reductions are. So this is coming to a little north of a $4 million budget reduction for next year. This relates back to your question on the 5-year forecast, which this will then be plugged into that and will be brought forward at our June meeting. I want to really emphasize again, the board, you have stood by investing in our schools differently. You saw our gains in that just a few minutes ago. So while districts, we get a lot of pressure to cut. This is the second year now that Fridley has not cut into what I call schools, and I'm really proud of that. I hope that we can get to a healthier place fiscally from the state level. I hope that we can get to more certainty from the federal level. But when we hear our stakeholders say things, whether it's on the national scene or the Minnesota scene or the local scene, when we hear stakeholders say, please do more with less, listen, we are. I think we've demonstrated that. And if you cut into our schools, especially in a district that is 80% students of color, 70% and rising rapidly, 72% students who are significantly economically disadvantaged, you alter the trajectory of the students that you are supposed to be impacting. I oftentimes get asked, why do I always talk and center on our racial and our economic demographics of our school system? The reason that I center on that is, statistically speaking, throughout public school districts, throughout the state, and throughout the United States, you will see the data on districts like ours show that our students would demonstrate statistically lower achievement levels and much larger opportunity gaps. So in Fridley, we aren't about reducing those gaps, we're about eliminating those. And so as we continue to invest wisely, you heard Jason say repeatedly, it's about our enrollment. It's about our enrollment. So we have to keep doing these investments, which pays off. So I'm just really proud of where we are. I'm also proud that we were able to come up with this $4 million through not touching schools. The first one you heard just immediately here, FCC position here is now moving to the community education funding, which you saw how we're making reductions elsewhere there. Our Assistant Director of Student Services is a change in funding source. So federal is responsible for 44% of special education funding. We get funded on that by 12%. So when people say the federal government with special education, it's really their requirement is 44. They fund us at 12. And by us, I don't mean Fridley Public Schools. I mean that, but I mean across the nation. So what we have is when we opened our setting 4, it was primarily to serve our students who we didn't have proper service for in our district or in 916. So by bringing our setting 4 in-house and now an expansion to a second setting 4, what we are able to do is our Assistant Director of Student Services actually serves as the building principal, building administrator of Vista. So all of that money moves from our federal drawdown where we draw off of that, and then we have that salary and benefits reimbursed, paid through tuition agreements, and then reimbursed for the students that are Fridley Public Schools in-district resident students. Then we do that through state special ed reimbursement. So that's a way that we were able to save some significant dollars. The difference in federal and state, it's a little more complicated, but the easiest way to explain it is federal is typically for special education staff that doesn't directly provide service minutes to students, and that's a finite pot of money. State special education dollars are for people that provide service minutes to students, and then we get reimbursed back on that. So that's approximately an 80 to an 88% reimbursement. So federal doesn't change. State, our allocation changes. You heard Jason talk about. As we had more expenses in special education, we had more revenue, and that's why. You will also see here that we have our Director of Special Services change in funding source. So for next year, as we open our second VISTA program, so VISTA Secondary, VISTA Elementary, that position will serve as the administrator for VISTA Secondary. So then that money goes out of federal and in, and then we're able to take different positions that have sat in our special ed cross subsidy, the $2.6 million, and move them into federal. So that's how we do that. It's a colleague of mine calls it moving the coconuts. So that's what we're doing there. We have a Gear Up grant, which we're thrilled about. You've seen that at our high school, and now we have it at the middle school. So at a different time, we'll give some information on that to our board. One of our deans, $70,000 at the middle school of that salary will be able to go into the Gear Up grant. Our Director of Early Childhood and Family Engagement has not been replaced. That's a vacancy that we have. Our Enrollment Coordinator has not been replaced, vacancy since December. Our Senior Information Officer position has been eliminated. That person has been notified about that. We will be adding a Tech Coordinator, Tech Director, something like that will be added for our July 1st start. So that's a salary deduct and a benefit deduct there. Our middle school ALC was eliminated. That was just south of $200,000. Learning Academy, just south of $200,000, I think 164. Our high school ALC, $500,000. We anticipated that would be more of a expenditure for next year because the 916 ALC program, which has been in City of Fridley, Spring Lake Park School District, is now moving into Fridley Public Schools. 916 does an amazing ALC program, so our students will be able to attend there. So it's a cost savings, but also it's frankly a programmatic expansion and an enhancement for our students. We also are working really hard to have as low as possible number of students going to the ALC. How are we looking at our current high school programming, and how do we serve our students differently and keep more of our students versus that ALC? Now, if you look at a student that's maybe 19 or 20, that might be a better fit, but we certainly don't want a 10th grader to be in ALC 10th, 11th, and 12th. just looking at that differently, our ALC students will be able to graduate with a Fridley diploma or a 916 one. It's up to their choice, and they get to do all of our sports and activities, and we provide transportation. So we're excited about that. Facilities and construction costs. This is our biggest one, $2.2 million moved out of our general fund over into the construction fund that you were hearing about, our capital fund. This is why I kept saying question 2 matters to our community. Question 2 matters. And so you can see question 2 here in action. Savings from moving from outside vendors, CISO for HR and finance, to in-house staffing. So that's how we got to the $4 million on that. Our safe routes to schools, I was approached maybe 3 weeks ago, and 2 city engineers, Carl and Jim, came to meet with me, and Lieutenant Titus is a part of that, who supervises our SRO program. They came, and they are so excited. They are ready to roll out the next phase of safe routes to schools. So I will be bringing more information. I'm hopeful in June. Jim and Carl and I will present to you as well as to the City Council about this expansion of safe routes to school. I am so sorry. I'm blanking on the street. It's right by you. What's the street you live on, Eric? Jackson. Sorry, because I saw your truck. So I'm like, oh, that's his house when I did the walk. So it'll go from Jackson all the way to the end of school district property, all the way through. And I don't know what I exactly mean by all the way through on the city land. I walked that area. I've been back there, but not to that depth. I'm so thankful this is coming through for a variety of reasons. We'll have much more details, but this is going to be probably a 10-foot path, wide, ADA, all of that. Our property looks pretty raggedy back there, so I'm so glad to see this improvement as well. And then Jim and Carl also were so great. They're like, we hear that you really like your facilities and grounds to look a certain way. And I said yes. So then Jim's like, I think it's well number 5 that's on school district property. He's like, I don't know why we have to have that barbed wire. That's not a good look for you. I said, exactly. So that barbed wire is coming down. So it's just nice to hear when others take pride in our facilities too. So much more to come on this, but I'm just excited. I wanted to give you a preview. So now I'll turn it over to our board for updates that we have on 916, AMSD, any other committee reports.
For 916, we had our meeting at the beginning of the month, and one thing that I wanted to share was just we had our preliminary budget proposal. I just wanted to share like a little bit about that with us. The budget had been built kind of with 6 assumptions. The first one was salaries and benefits, which had reflected, what had happened with the bargaining units previously, and maybe anticipating what will be happening as we move into negotiations for this year. The second assumption that they built off of is their fund balance. 916 doesn't have any property to levy taxes off of. They are based solely on their member districts, so their fund balance is a little bit higher than ours is. The policy for 916 is set between 10 and 15%, so the budget is built to continue to have a fund balance in that range. The operating budgets are the third contributing factor for what the programs need to support where they are at currently. The membership fees, we pay per adjusted pupil unit $24 per pupil this year. Next year that is moving up to $24.50, which is a 2.1% increase, smaller than what they had initially anticipated, but that will be our membership increase for next year. Community and tech ed, the programming cost for that, the fund balance for that has been lower than needed to be increased as it was dropped down over the last several years. So that has a higher increase of 9.8% for tuition for career and tech ed this year. But then after that fund balance is replenished, then that's going to stabilize in the next year or two. And then the last one is for care and treatment. Their rates are going to go up by 5.5% on average there. But yeah, those are the 6 parts for their preliminary budget proposal, and we will be moving to finalize that in the next month. And then the second part for 916 is that I did tours this last week of South Campus, which is one of their Setting 4 programs. And it was really fun to see. It's kind of like a loop, and they have kids biking and walking and moving all around there the whole time. So it's really fun to see that very busy building. And then also I toured their Quora Education Center. At Quora, I saw multiple of their different learning communities, 7th grade through 12th grade plus into transition. They had so many really cool things. We had a couple students giving us tours talking about like music, creating different classes that they had, like music production. People, like, they had just this whole instrument library for their students to use. They had wood shop with their therapy dogs in it, in wood shop, which was so fun. Getting to see the students using their weight room, their different culinary arts classes. So it was really great to see that. And then also we talked about the ALC programming. At Core, they have their Eastview Academy. So we get to go there and just hearing from some of the students how very impactful the supports from the staff and the programming were in that space for them to help them move towards graduation, and getting to speak to a couple kids who are going to be graduating here in the next couple weeks. So that is what happened in 916 in this month. Yep.
Anything else from other board members?
Our meeting is tomorrow.
Okay. You actually foreshadowed that well. Chair Carnap, anything you wanted to update on AMSD?
I jumped on late, but I'll just touch on a couple quick things. As far as some legislation that's out there, there's some talk about allowing boards to renew existing capital projects after a one-time public hearing. Obviously, that'd be, I think, beneficial. The bill to negotiate e-learning days and ratio does not seem to be getting any traction, nor has the MCA, replacing the MCA with a national standard, no traction there. And then the issue of switching our election years, that bill seems to be just completely dead. So I'm not sure, Dr. Lewis, and Sarah, I think you were on as well, if there's anything that I missed there, if you'd like to fill in.
No, we're obviously now moving into special session,
Yeah.
so more updates to come. So thanks, board. Why I said, Ivana, that you foreshadowed that well is Heather Like is our executive director of Northwest Suburban Integration School District, and she comes to every member district, the 7 of us, to a board meeting. You came to my reorg meeting last year in May, and now you're here again to the reorg. This is probably the longest board meeting we have, so thank you for always coming to the May one. It's nice to see you here. We appreciate all your support. Before I move to the upcoming events, I just wanted to address safety. As we have agreed to, we pride ourselves on transparent communication. We've seen some upticks in a tiny percentage of adult caregivers who do not make good choices in our school districts and school district buildings and at events. And these are behaviors that I will not tolerate as the superintendent. I do not allow any stakeholder to threaten staff members, to threaten students, to make our environments not feel great. So I'm pretty strict about that. And sometimes we have people that potentially need more than one action or more than one reminder. As you know, I appreciate very much that I can kind of put all of our business out there to you and let you know what's going on. And it's inevitable with any messenger that goes out, either our principals or myself, depending on who's the letter signer, or when I'm in a building or at an activity, parents come up to me and they say, we feel really safe with our kids. We feel really safe with our kids. So I love every stakeholder in our district, our students, our staff, our families. Sometimes those we love, we have to take a stance where we say, I don't like your behavior. And I do that, and it feels a little more often than usual, but we've had quite a bit of uptick of some pretty violent and unacceptable behavior that with our proactivity hasn't resulted in situations that could have been much worse. Also, as school districts have moved away from having SROs, I cannot emphasize enough the power of our partnership with SROs. Patrol has a very specific purpose, right? We rely on them to get to us, to help us in an emergency, and to mitigate that emergency. And patrol is wonderful. When we have SROs, the relationship is just different, right? It's not a transaction. It's a relationship that they have. And without our SROs, we would be pulling on other city resources in a way that wouldn't be sustainable for any of us, because then when we're calling on patrol, which we do sometimes need to have backup from patrol, and our SROs are very brilliant at determining when that backup needs to come and all those pieces. But I cannot emphasize enough the partnership that we have with Fridley Police Department, with our SROs, Officer Nico, Officer Dave, and the Chief and Lieutenant Titus, just how they wrap our school district in support. And in the months of, really since January, we've been seeing quite a demand on our SROs, and they just rise to the challenge. So thank you for supporting me and saying we don't do that here in Fridley Public Schools. So I appreciate that very much. And then to end a little bit positive, here, I love this slide, Lori. Here's our upcoming events. So exciting. May is busy. School board interviews on May 22nd at 1 p.m. in the boardroom at Fridley High School. May 27th, our ALC graduation EA at the Fridley High School cafeteria, 5 o'clock. Fridley High School commencement, Roy Wilkins Auditorium, 6 p.m. on May 29th. There's a different practice this year where the gowns and caps and gowns aren't being collected immediately after, so families can do different photos and things like that. And so I believe those are collected the next day, right? Or after the commencement. So that's nice that our families don't have to quickly focus on pictures and then leave. So we're excited that they get to keep those caps and gowns for a longer period of time before they return them. So congratulations, board. We're through our first board item after almost 2 hours, but the rest should clip along. So thank you, Chair. I'll turn it back to you.
Great. So let's get through the rest. We ready? All right, let's do it. All right, so going to our first business action item, I would entertain a motion to award the sale of bonds as we've heard earlier today. Do I have a motion? Motion by Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Keeler. This is a roll call vote. Miss Anna? Aye. Miss Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Carnup is aye. Mr. Keeler?
Aye.
Mr. Meisner?
Aye.
Ms. Stark?
Aye.
Ms. Ahmed?
Aye.
Ms. Schob? Aye. Motion passes. Next up, I would, what's that? Are you sure? Okay. Next up, I would entertain a motion to approve the bid for Hayes Elementary flooring and abatement project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Stark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Anna. No roll call here. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next up, we have I would accept a motion to approve bid for the new combi oven at the Fridley Middle School. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Stark. Again, no roll call here. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next up, I would entertain a motion to approve our wonderful revised budget for next year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Anna. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next up, I would entertain a motion for the Minnesota State High School League resolution for membership for next year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jones. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Stark. This is a roll call vote. Miss Anna?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Carnup is aye. Mr. Keeler?
Aye.
Mr. Meisner?
Aye.
Ms. Stark?
Aye.
Ms. Ahmed?
Aye.
Ms. Schob? Motion passes. Next up, as discussed, I would entertain a motion to accept the gift of $25,000 from the, where is it here? I don't want to get it right. the Friends of Fridley Senior Program. Do I have a motion?
So moved with gratitude.
Motion made by Meisner with gratitude. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Keeler. Roll call vote. Ms. Anna?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Carnop is aye. Mr. Keeler?
Aye.
Mr. Meisner?
Aye.
Ms. Stark?
Aye.
Ms. Ahmed?
Aye.
Ms. Schob? Motion passes. Next up, I would entertain a motion of approval for the consent agenda, which includes our minutes from the last meeting, our monthly financial reports, new contracts, our amendments, lane changes, leaves of absences, etc. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Anna. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Next up are important dates. On May 21st at 7 o'clock at the District Auditorium, we'll have the Fridley High School Band Pops Concert video games. Also, from the Fridley High School Band Choir Concert, we have the performance of Just Dance 2016, May 22nd at the auditorium at 7 o'clock. The Fridley High School Jazz Bands Concert Spring Showcase will be on May 25th at Crooner's Supper Club. Get your tickets now. That starts at 7 o'clock. Middle school on the 26th as a district holiday. ALC graduation, as Dr. Lewis mentioned, on May 27th at 5 o'clock. At the Fridley High School cafeteria, we've got graduation for the high school on May 29th at Roy Wilkins Auditorium, starting at 6 o'clock on May 29th. Last day of school, June 4th. And then our next board meeting will be at June 17th here at the Community Center. 5:30 work session, 7 o'clock public comment, 7:30 business meeting. Did I miss any important dates? No, no good. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Eric, I think it's you.
Yep.
So moved.
Motion made by Keeler. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Anna. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned at 9:26. Thank you.